Dear young leaders, we will continue our journey with political science. In the last week, we talked about what is democracy, why democracy. One of the important features we discussed was free and fair elections, which is the hallmark of democracy. So, this week, our discussion is electoral politics. Let us begin with the end in mind. Why are we learning electoral politics? To understand why elections are necessary and useful in a democracy, to understand what makes an election democratic, how electoral competition among political parties serves people, is it good? And assessing elections in India, are they democratic or not? And the role of Election Commission of India. How about starting our session with a riddle? 20 seconds for reading and 30 seconds for solving it. How was it? Did you try to solve it? Many of you might have thought of various answers. They may be partly right, but the most appropriate one is habit. That is the power of habit. Are we ready for the session? As you see, the word electoral is related to elections. So, the politics involved, that means how the entire process is carried out, becomes electoral politics. I remind you to park away the negative connotation that we normally associate with the word politics, as already discussed in the last week. What comes to your mind when you listen to the word elections? If you can recall your white paper, you could see so many pictures associated with the word. Why do we need elections? As many of you wrote in your prior knowledge test, we need elections to choose or elect our representatives. Let us understand it in a better way by taking an example that you know. Before we proceed to understand elections that happen in a country, let us start from what we know. In our school, we do have elections. Why do we have? Are they to give you an MLA for your section, an MP for your grade, and the PM and the president for the school? Do they just represent you? Why do you need them? All of you are selecting a candidate who you think will do better. You are letting the school know your choice. It happens only because of elections. Is there a democratic way of selecting representatives without elections? For example, can we just appoint them based on the performance in their previous grade? If the principal ma'am or the director sir or your class teacher appoints them according to their preference, then will you call the appointed persons as the representatives? Think about it. Sometimes a question can be answered through questions. For example, if someone asks you, why do we need to eat? You can answer by posing questions like, is there any way your body gets the required nutrients and energy on a daily basis? Is there any way that satisfies your sense organs, especially your tongue and nose, so on and so forth. Similarly, here the big question, why do we need elections? We can answer it by asking questions. So go through the questions. I hope the previous set of questions might have answered the big question, why do we need elections? Let us try to understand the meaning of an election here. What is an election? It is a mechanism by which people can choose their representatives at regular intervals and change them if they wish to do so. Here focus on those keywords. What are they? People, representatives and regular intervals. What do people do in an election? We know that people go there and cast their vote. So while casting their vote, what is that they are doing exactly? They are making choices. While you are electing MLA for your section, you are making many choices. Who has to meet principal ma'am to represent your class whenever it is needed? Who has to give the entire class a common set of instructions in the absence of your teacher? So the same way people are making their choices. Here another question is, do people really make choices very consciously while voting? Check with your parents. Now coming to these choices, what is that they are making? The first one, they are choosing who is going to make laws for them. If their choice is very good one, they are going to get good LAWS. If not, they are going to get laws but LOSs. Okay, yeah. Here I have to give you more clarity because some of you are not very clear with who is going to be elected directly by the voters. We people, we do not elect CM, Chief Minister, Prime Minister, President, Governor directly. We are electing our representatives. Our representatives are MLAs at the state level and MPs, members of parliament at national level. Okay. So these MLAs in turn, they choose their leader. That person will become the chief minister. And at country level, these MPs, they choose and he is going to become the prime minister. So coming to the next one, who will form the government and take major decisions? So once whichever party wins the majority, they form the government. So indirectly, people are choosing the government whom they want to have in the country or in the state, and that party, those political heads, they are going to take major decisions. Coming to the third one, they are going to choose the party before elections. All these parties, they go on campaigning about their manifestos and their policies, explaining about them what is that they're going to do for the country, for the state. So after listening to that one, people make a choice and then choose the party that is going to form the government and lawmaking. How can you say that an election is democratic? What are the conditions? Let us take again our student council elections. What if some of you were not given the chance to vote? Will it be democratic? Definitely not. That means everyone should be able to choose or vote. Again, we have to follow one person, one vote, one value. Coming to the second one, after going to the polling booth, no, if you get to see only one name there, is that a real choice? Is that a meaningful choice? No. That means there should be something to choose from, many options, so that you can take one, you can pick up one. That is the second condition. Third one, what if your MLA continues to be the MLA even in the next year also? That, can you call it as a democratic one? So the choice should be offered at regular and known intervals. And the next one, the candidate who is preferred by the people, he has to be elected. For example, you know that all of you prefer candidate X over Y in your student council elections. Say for the post of MLA, all of you know that. But after the election, if the school announces candidate Y as the MLA, do you think that's a fair practice? There is no meaning for your election then. So that means the candidate preferred by the people or by the students, he should be elected. And the last one, free and fair elections. Can your teacher force you to vote for the candidate of her choice? No. So this thing we will be talking in the next session also. So these five conditions, they tell us if an election is a democratic one or not. Is it good to have political competition? I will ask you this question. Is it good to have a competition for the MLA post at your section level? Sometimes it may result in groupism in the class. The class divides into two groups, like that. But the competition drives the candidates to do better. The same way this electoral competition, sometimes it leads to factionalism and a sense of disunity prevails in that particular constituency. As you might have seen in many political campaigns, the candidates use dirty tricks, level allegations against each other. If you have followed the last assembly elections in AP, you can understand it better. how Mr. Chandrababu Naidu and Mr. Jagan used to level allegations against each other. Same was the case with Mr. Rahul Gandhi and Mr. Modi too. Due to these allegations and dirty tricks, some good people who may wish to serve the country, they do not enter political arena. And that is why we, the common people, generally have a negative connotation for the word politics. But is that the way we have to think about political competition? No. Our constitution makers were aware of this problem and yet opted for free competition in elections. Because in the long run, this competition ultimately results in betterment of a society. How? What is the profession Mr. Jagan, Mr. KCR, Mr. KTR and Mr. Modi are in? Politics. Like any other professionals, politicians, they also want to advance in their political careers. An engineer, a doctor, a teacher, he or she wants to get promoted, right? So is the case with politicians. Is that wrong? I don't think so. For example, here, what do you see in the picture? Whom do you see in that picture? It is very difficult for you. He was Modi. He started his career as a party member in Bharatiya Janata Party, and over a period of 30 to 40 years, he went on to become the Prime Minister of India. So coming to the second point, how is it going to help the society? Because people, they always use the system of rewarding and then punishing the politicians. If they feel that the particular politician is working well, they want to go with him or with her. If no, if they are not happy, obviously they don't elect that person in the next term. If you take example of Telangana Rashtra Samiti in 2018 elections, Telangana Rashtra Samiti, it came back to power because people, they trusted the leadership of KCR, and then again they chose him. If you take 2019 assembly elections in Andhra Pradesh, what happened? They punished that incumbent chief minister Mr. Chandrababu Naidu and they gave power to Mr. Jagan. So people, they observe how these leaders are working, and of course for various, there are many factors that play a role in somebody winning or losing. Those things later we can talk. Now the third one, even though one particular leader, one particular representative, even though he is not genuinely interested towards helping people, so what is that he can do? What he has to do? He has to serve people, because in order to continue his career, because he has already decided to continue, so obviously if he wants to promote himself, then he has to help people. It is as simple as that. It is time to look back. We have understood the necessity for elections, and we have understood what a democratic election is, what are the conditions. We have discussed 5 conditions, if you remember. And the last one, political competition. Is it good? How it is going to help the society and the politicians, and of course ultimately for the country. So what are the works you have to do today? As class task, one comprehension was given based on the case study of assembly elections last year in Andhra Pradesh. Read that one, and in the context of elections, what we have discussed so far, try to answer them. And coming to the evening task, if you want, you have to watch the video again and answer the given questions there. If you have any queries, in the next Google Meet, we are going to answer them. Just relax for 10 seconds. Up and down, up and down.